With the end of the year just around the corner, many shows and supposed news websites will post their lists of the top 10 this and the top 10 that of events or things that happened throughout the year, looking back. And the website Mediaite, which covers media culture, has posted their list of what they claim to be the 75 most influential people in the news business this year. So let's take a look and see how they measure up with reality here. Coming in at number 75, barely making the list, and I'm not joking, is little Brian Stelter, who doesn't have a show anymore, had a new book that came out this year that sold less than 4,000 copies. By the way, mine sold double that the first day that it came out. But Brian Stelter is on their list of most influential people of the year. The only thing Brian Stelter influences is the price of the commodity index because of his massive food consumption habits. A lot of these people just have niche followings on garbage networks, like a booking producer on MSNBC, Eric Bolling, who has the primetime slot on Newsmax, who deserves to be on the list because Newsmax did a lot of growing this year because of the exodus of former Fox viewers, including myself, who dumped Fox after they fired Tucker Carlson for telling too much truth. Patrick Bet-David made the list, and he deserves to be on the list of most influential. He's had a popular YouTube channel, Valuetainment, for many years, had a lot of major guests on there, but he never really was a political guy until recently, and with the launch of his podcast, now he has totally blown up. A lot of big names on there. He's invited me on the show, by the way. You just know me in interviews. I don't want to fly across the country to do an hour interview. It's just not worth my time. Maybe someday I will. Chunk Yogurt made the list, which is pathetic. Most of this list is just complete garbage. Oliver Darcy, number 67. Oliver Darcy should have made the list several years ago, like 5 years ago in 2018, because he was influential in getting Alex Jones banned from Twitter. But, well, we know how that finally turned out. Like I said, this list is mostly just a favorites list. These people are not influential. Aaron Burnett, a CNN host, can't influence anything. Neither can Poppy Harlow, another CNN host, or Martha McCallum, a Fox News host, or Wolf Blitzer. Why are these people even on this list? I said it was a fake list. Peter Doocy, one of the only few respectable reporters, there might be more, over at Fox News. He does deserve to be on the list. What's more interesting than who they decided to put on the list is who is not on the list. So we'll just keep scrolling through these losers. Chris Hayes, Jim Acosta, all people with zero influence. Laura Ingraham over on Fox News, no influence. Where are the YouTubers? Where are the Twitter or X personalities? Where's like Candace Owens? Oh, Steve Bannon on there. Okay, finally, somebody who has actual influence. Oh, there he is. Coming in at number 26 is Tucker Carlson. Despite not being on Fox News, all of his interviews on X, on Twitter, drive news cycles. And as I've discussed before, the supposed view count on Twitter are totally fake. Those are just impressions. But he is still getting millions of views. But they don't want to admit that Tucker Carlson is still extremely influential and is a major driver of the news cycle. So they put him at number 26. Joe Rogan comes in at number 24, even though he is the biggest podcaster in the world. And his show is bigger by orders of magnitude, like probably 10 or 20 times the amount of viewers as any cable news show. Greg Gutfeld, they put at number 23, even though his late night comedy show on Fox News on cable has literally more viewers than any of the big brand name late night talk shows, including Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and Stephen Colbert. But they still only put him at number 23. And I'm not a Gutfeld fan. Personally, I don't even find him really that funny at all. But I do respect his success. And as far as his influence, being the number one late night comedy show on television definitely warrants being higher than number 23. They put Ben Shapiro and his co-founder of the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, at number 18. And they are extremely influential, as you know. Like I said yesterday, the Daily Wire is going to be $1 billion company, but they might actually deserve to be, despite my criticism, and you know how I feel about Little Ben, they probably deserve to be actually a little bit higher on this list. We're down to the final 15, and so far there have been 0 YouTubers. Ben Shapiro kind of masquerades as a YouTuber, but he is, the king of conservative ink. But where is Tim Pool? Where are the Twitter personalities? Where's Jack Posobiec? Where is any authentic, organic, independent social media influencer on their most influential list? Maybe they put him at the top of the list where they deserve to be. Let's find out. Jesse waters it down, number 14, who was given Tucker Carlson's old time slot. Maggie Haberman, New York Times. Brett Baer, Fox News, number 12. Okay, there we go. Elon Musk, only at number 10 for being the owner of Twitter, of X, one of the biggest social media platforms on the planet. Stephen A. Smith is number 8. So Elon Musk is less influential, they say, than this guy who just rants about sports and white people on ESPN or somewhere. Jake Tapeworm, number 7. So according to this list, a lonely and obviously miserable CNN host is more influential than Elon Musk. Oh, number 6, Bill Maher. Okay, now he deserves to be in the top 10. Bill Maher is, like a broken clock. He is right twice a day, but he still has stage 4 Trump derangement syndrome. But he does at least call out the woke insanity on a fairly regular basis and is trying to hold back the dam. Well, I guess the dam has already bursted, but he's mad that the dam burst. Number 5, Matt Drudge. Nobody talks about Matt Drudge. Nobody goes to the Drudge Report. The Drudge Report does not set the agenda for conservative media anymore, ever since he threw Donald Trump under the bus. And Matt Drudge was never a conservative. Matt Drudge is just a crazy person who likes stirring up the pot, who got a lucky break back in the 1990s by having the Monica Lewinsky scandal handed to him, which he has been riding on that fame ever since. Number 4, Megyn Kelly. Now, I would say that she might be in the top 10, but probably not up to number 4, who is essentially a YouTuber now. Her YouTube channel is produced by Sirius XM Radio, and they host her show, but nobody's listening to her on Sirius XM. They're all watching her on YouTube. She has about 1.6 million subscribers, and she does some actual pretty good interviews with some pretty big guests. Number 3, most influential in media of the year, they say, is Joe Scarborough and his wife, Mika Brzezinski, and their co-host, Willie Geist, another MSNBC morning show that nobody watches. Number 2 on the list is Sean Hannity, which is proof that this list was compiled by ChatGPT because Sean Hannity has no influence. Sean Hannity has no power. He has some decent viewers, all baby boomers who, for some reason, still tune in, probably because after they run out of crossword puzzles, they get bored and can't think of anything else to occupy an hour of their time. Number 1, most influential in media, they say, is the Dominion Voting Machine Company, because that lawsuit cost Fox News $750 million and was the excuse that was used to get rid of Tucker Carlson, even though that wasn't the actual reason, because Tucker Carlson didn't defame them, wasn't really part of the settlement, allegedly part of some backroom deals to, agree to that settlement so that it wouldn't cost Fox News more money because of what some other hosts allegedly said. But Tucker Carlson was fired, obviously, because he was revealing too much truth about January 6th and the border crisis and certain demographic changes, anti-whiteism, and the Une Earl Way Order, a topic that you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube anymore. Notice Alex Jones was suspiciously missing from the list, who probably should have come in either at number 1 or maybe number 2, second to Elon Musk. Dan Bongino also missing from the list, even though he has one of the top podcasts and is the top streamer over at Rumble, 3 million subscribers, over 100,000 live viewers on his live streams. Not even mentioned on the list. Brian Stelter, they say, more influential than Dan Bongino, who could pull in 100,000 live viewers on a stream. Tim Pool also omitted from the list because they don't want to give him any attention because his show is too independent and too influential for the mainstream media establishment to handle. And so Tim is not even a conservative. Tim is basically like the definition of a centrist. I have a lot of respect for Tim. He's an independent, self-made man. And stop spamming him, by the way, asking him to have me on the show. I appreciate that. But I do have an open invitation to come on the show anytime that I want to. You know me in interviews, especially if I got to fly all the way across the country. I'm just too busy to be doing that kind of thing. Someday, maybe in the next few years, I will. But Tim definitely should have been on the top 10 on that list, but not even included at all. He was included in a new poll, however, by WPA Intelligence, whoever that is, which declared that Republicans don't know or trust far-right influencers like Jack Posobiec and Tim Pool. And like I said, Tim Pool is not far-right. He's not even right-wing, not even a conservative. He is a centrist. Jack Posobiec is a conservative Christian, but of course trying to smear him as a far-right influencer. And so this polling agency polled a bunch of Republicans to try to downplay the influence that these people have. Jack Posobiec, by the way, who has almost 2.5 million followers on Twitter, one of the, if not the most influential conservative account on all of Twitter. But the poll is saying that Americans just don't know him or Tim Pool or trust them at all. This poll is trying to downplay the power and influence and popularity of independent social media personalities because Tim Pool, Jack Posobiec, and even myself for that matter, have massive audiences and massive influence. But because it still is considered niche in terms of the mainstream, they're trying to downplay our popularity. The results found that a strong majority of Americans, even of every political affiliation, were aware of Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, though. On the other hand, Posobiec is unknown to 72% of Americans and even less popular to Republicans, 75% of whom don't know who he is. The same is true of Pool. 69% of Americans and 74% of Republicans have never heard of him. What's the population of America now? I lost track. Is it 350 million people? So 350 million people, if only 25% of those know who Tim Pool even is, that's still 87 million people. But Mediaite in this poll is trying to portray them as if they're just total losers. The Daily Wire was very proud, however, to boast that their very own Ben Shapiro was voted the most trusted and popular right-wing media personality. The most trusted, they say, who I may remind you, resigned from Breitbart back in 2016 in protest, along with Michelle Fields, and then they perpetuated the hoax that Donald Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski tried to throw her to the ground. Remember that? And then security footage came out and showed that he just politely grabbed onto her arm in a nonverbal gesture to try to tell her, hey, lady, you can't go over there, because she was trying to follow Donald Trump into a secure area, into the secure zone where only the candidate and Secret Service are allowed. And so then he got funding from the billionaire Wilkes brothers to found the Daily Wire along with Jeremy Boring. But that is who is the most trusted person, who then, of course, became a never-Trumper, and even after Trump got the nomination in 2016, didn't vote for him. The same Ben Shapiro who says that Scott Adams, the creator of the popular Dilbert comic, is a terrible racist who Ben says probably should have been canceled.
Just to rewind for a second, Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, he said some racist stuff, which of course is indeed racist. What?
Racist, he says, because Scott Adams prefers to live in a community, a neighborhood of people who are similar to him, just like Ben Shapiro lives in a Jewish neighborhood.
What he said was in fact racist. You can fully acknowledge Scott Adams' racism and still also recognize that the media would be totally fine with Scott Adams' racism if it was directed in precise reverse at white people.
I guess if we're going to use Ben Shapiro's standards, we would call him a Gentile phobic, somebody who's bigoted against non-Jews because he prefers to live in his Jewish enclave.
In the United States, if you direct racism against black Americans, that of course is verboten, it is very bad, and you'll have your career ended. And there's a strong case that that ought to be the case because racism is bad.
A strong case, he said, that it should be the case that somebody gets canceled if they're white and they say they prefer to live in a white neighborhood, which is what Scott Adams said. I have a lot more to say than Scott Adams, however, and if you want to get my completely uncensored and fully sourced with almost 1,000 footnotes assessment of the situation, then you have to order my new book, The War on Conservatives, in paperback from Amazon.com, or download the ebook from any of the major ebook stores. And of course, there's a link to the Amazon listing in the description below, so click it and head on over there and check it out.